Linda Mills is an incredible foster parent who has raised 175 children over 36 years. Join us as Linda shares life stories, the calling to become a foster parent, and strategies for every caregiver. Stay tuned. It's time for Key Talks.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Key Talks. If this is your first episode, welcome. If this is your second or more, welcome back. We are so glad to have you here today. My name is Deanna, and I am a co-host of Key Talks with, if you're watching across the table, Paula, my other Key Talks co-host. And at the very far edge of the table where I'm at is Mike, our tech guy, the one who set up all our cameras, all of our microphones, and he's checking our levels to make sure we are all kind of on the same level throughout our discussions today. And if you haven't heard of who we are, Key Creative, we are a pediatric rehab med practice based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We support youth of all ages and abilities. When I say all abilities, I mean so many different diagnoses, developmental disorders, difficult life circumstances. And if you're not sure where you or your family might fit in there, then please go ahead and visit our website, keycreative.com, and fill out an intake form. And you can learn more about our practice from here or just on our website. And we're always glad to chat with folks. And that's exactly what we're here to do, is some more chatting with more folks.
Talk.
So I'm very excited about our guest today. Where should we start with? How do I introduce her? Oh my! I have
one of the most fascinating women that we have met. I was saying that every time I connect and have a conversation with Linda Mills, that I learn something new and extraordinary about her. And so we wanted to bring her in to celebrate her awesomeness and to share with our community, how she's been a part of so many children's lives and the impact that she's had in her home and I think on her community.
Yeah. I see it here. So I've got this whole bio of her in front of me.
Yeah.
So we'll start where Linda Mills, who will be our guest today, was born in 1953 in Chatham, Kent, England, from a very large family. She's lived and worked in London as a teenager during the swingin' 60s. She fell in love at first sight and was married for 40 years until her husband passed 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She has overcome stage 3 cancer in her 40s. She's lived in the Bahamas for 5 years. She moved to Canada in 1982.
Woo!
And she's
Shout out to that year.
and operated 2 different businesses. And now how we know her, kind of on that professional working relationship side, is she has been a foster parent for 36 years and is a mother of 10 children.
Of her own.
Yeah. And she discovered us, Key Creative, the year her husband died. And she has, kind of joined us through Young Master Club or everything else at the age of 63.
Yes.
And this is the last part here. Should we mention this too?
Mention that. I'm jumping in.
Thank you to the Fellowship and 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. She has been sober since August 22, 1983, over 40 years.
Wow. Incredible.
Just
amazing, surprising, beautiful, powerful woman, Linda Mills. Come on out.
Come on out, Linda.
Without further ado,
hello, everyone.
Settle in. She's our first guest from outside of Key Creative, right? So this is exciting in that way as well.
I was listening. You make me sound more awesome than I really am.
If that's your inner voice,
disagree.
we're here to say, I was just what a woman when I received this piece of paper.
I truly mean it, Linda. Every time I talk with you, there's something more fascinating and incredible that I learn from you. And it isn't necessarily about the achievements or things like that, but just you as a person and what you've been willing to give of yourself, but also the things that you've been willing to just involve yourself in. So when I first met you, it was about 8 or 9 years ago,
Yes,
we've
it
pinpoint,
was.
and I met you at the Young Master Club, which is our Taekwondo program. And you had come in, you were supporting at that time your grandson, who was a part of our program, and his father was also attending. And you came in bold and beautiful, brave and courageous, and you were
Not
like,
so much.
oh, well, at least that's how it appeared. And I just remember feeling that from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you joined right in. And I remember saying, "Oh, so what's your name?" I don't know if you remember this, but I do. I'm like, "What's your name?" And you're like, "You can call me Nana."
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I hear Linda, I'm like, I only hear Nana ma'am.
Exactly.
yeah.
Or my first discovery, like that was also too, like when I did Young Master Club for the first time, like volunteering and my white
Yeah.
belt, I'm just like, oh, Nana, that's that nice British lady at Taekwondo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to her.
The story behind
Yes.
that is I was supporting my grandson, and I thought, I just about the Nana part is Master R asked me what my name was in front of the whole class, and my grandson said, "Her name's Nana." Like, what else would it be?
Now that you're retelling this, yes, I remember this.
And so I became Nana. But I only have one person left in the class that could call me Nana. So maybe I'll grow up next year.
Ah.
I have to say though, I find something very comforting when I do come in and I see you and I know that Nana's there kind of looking out and taking care of us all. And with that, I mean 36 foster children, which I think we'll get to, but tell us about you coming in to the Young Masters Club. What was that experience
I
like
must
for
tell
you?
36, not 36 foster children, 36 years of fostering.
Ah,
I think I have
probab-
had
Thank you.
175 children.
175
Right.
children.
Thank
You
for
heard
clarifying.
it.
Yes.
Anyway,
Oh my
what was it
goodness.
like coming in? I would like to talk about the Young Masters Club first of all, because it was such a positive experience in my life. I had just lost my husband of 40 years. He had been ill for 2 years and I had nursed him, and he died at just 65. He just made his 65th birthday, our 40th wedding anniversary. And ours in itself is quite a story. We fell in love at first sight and were married within 2 weeks. And
Wow.
wow, yes. I wouldn't have wished the first year on anybody, but we made it. But I do a lot of work in my community. I teach dancing. I do all sorts of things. I'm in the church, women's clubs and so on. But the Young Masters Club just sparked an interest. I was still grieving, obviously, and I had been eating a lot. Obviously, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. So I ate ice cream and got bigger and bigger. But what you have to fill a void somehow.
Yeah.
And I was a very big lady when I first came in. And I thought, you know what? I can do this. So I dived right in and plodded around the gymnasium with the kids. And it wasn't long before the action really helped me to focus on other things than my grief, because it was a new project. My grandson was, I think, about 15 or 16 at the time, 15, and he has Asperger's. Very, very, very intelligent. Not a lot of social skills. Probably could count them on one hand, but he loved the Young Masters Club. And I did too. And so we had something in common. Him and I were very close anyway. And then we carried on for a few years. I can't remember where COVID came, but it came in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait for it to start again. David had aged out by then, but I had all these little ones to bring to the mini masters. So dove right in again, and we're still at it and enjoying every time.
Yeah.
So,
And you say that, Linda, Nana.
you can call me Linda. It's fine. I'm going to be a big girl one day.
And so initially it was something that you and your grandson bonded over. But let's dig a little deeper because you also earned your blue belt.
I did.
So, I mean, there was something driving you there also that kind of led you to take it to that
Yeah.
next level, which is not easy to do when you start getting, I mean, at any level, but blue belt, you have to know a lot of different patterns and techniques and not just that, there's a commitment level that is involved there. And also on the other side is that, Linda, there's no one else your age, right? Which I think is remarkable in the way that you were still willing to put yourself out there and you trained just as if you were on equal level and ground as anyone else there, which is remarkable.
I loved it because,
Mhm.
for those of you watching this, I will be 71 in June, 71 years old. And what was I? I think I was 62 when my
Mhm.
husband passed.
Mhm.
And it was all included. This club is so inclusive. I didn't feel any different to the children that were doing it, to the adults that were helping their children.
Mhm.
I felt everybody was tolerant.
Mhm.
Some of the things I couldn't do at all, and to this day I still can't do
Mhm.
them. But it was all inclusive. Nobody ever need fear going to this club because there's no judgment. And yes, it was a bonding experience. My grandson, that particular grandson, I have 13 grandchildren, but that particular grandson and I have always been very close. And I was so happy to be able to do that with him.
Mhm.
We were joined a little later by a young man from my village. His name is Eric. He's in my dance class still, also Asperger's. And we learned a lot together. But I learned that it doesn't matter about age because when it came to learning the punces or the patterns, I had children teaching me how
Yeah.
to do them. Oh, what an experience!
Mm.
There was a young lad there. I can't remember his name. He was one of Vicky's four, and
Okay.
he was only a youngster, and he helped me and helped me and helped me
Oh.
get the pattern for. I think it was green belt, but there was another young man there too who also helped me with that. And the blue belt, it was one of the adults who went for a black belt. Her and I trained every day. We went to the gym for me to be able to do that.
Wow.
It wasn't as easy as some people because um, I can't do some of the things
Mhm.
like jumping in the air.
Mhm.
Some of these things are gone now,
Mhm.
but I was able to do those things that were required of me um, and enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
I liked the commitment too,
Yeah.
because it gave me a focus on something other than my grieving at the time.
Mhm.
Now I just love doing it.
Mhm.
Just love being there. I
Mhm.
don't always do the whole class. Depends. If there's a lot of running, I kind of sit down for a little while, but
Mhm.
I love to help the children. My
Mhm.
intention at the moment is to go back into the life,
The for life, like all
The
all
four,
ages.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is where I started.
Mhm.
I'll have to think about it. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up. But if I don't, they won't judge me anyway. I'll do the bits
No.
I can do.
There's always a space for you there. I know that. I say that on behalf of Master R. John also that having you there is definitely a gift to everyone else who is there as well.
And I want to
So,
say that it's not a special exception either. Like I think
no.
ever since Young Master Club came out, it has always been very heartily encouraged that parents and caregivers can participate too, that you're not just going to be sitting on the chair like with your phone recording like and just observing them. You can absolutely train alongside your kids and get your belt alongside your kids. So I just making sure I point that out, that it's
No,
not
and
just
I
like,
think that's a really nice point. And I think the thing that I feel proud of about the Young Master Club and just an honor to be a part of it is that level of acceptance you feel when you're there. Like everything
Totally.
just gets washed away and you're like, oh God, this feels so good to be
Doesn't it?
surrounded in this community. And so
Totally
I
accepted.
totally accepted.
I have 4 children I bring at the moment, but one of them is my youngest, and he has a whole list of letters after his name. he is hard to handle, shall we say. And he has benefited so much from his class, 2.5 years now. He challenges himself to practice at home. Sometimes it doesn't work if he's a little oppositional, but he really wants to do well. And if he really wants to do well, he will do well.
Yes.
And he's come such a long way.
He has, and like he's you can really see where he's like developed his own internal drive with it. Whereas before it was kind of, like you're saying, the oppositional and that, but where now where you'd worry, it's like, is this what you're wanting to do? And it was more like, obviously there was the camaraderie and the things that he wanted to be a part of, but in terms of like the practice and the disciplined parts of it, he's really kind of engaged and latched onto that. And so
He's motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a
Mike,
level
you've
of
been very
motivation.
kind to him, because when he first came, that social side that you're talking about, he was running all over the floor, not listening, doing cartwheels, certainly not listening to what the coaches were saying. But that's all changed. But thank you for being kind.
Braulio's taken over the doing cartwheels. So there will always be someone doing cartwheels in that class.
Thank you for reminding me, Mike. I have to get myself prepared every Wednesday mentally to get in there and be
Paula
ready
has to
for
work
that.
on her core strength so that Braulio can do push-ups on top of his mother while
have-
she does push-ups.
I remember watching parents with young kids, doing that plank and their kids laying on them and being like, "Oh, it's so cute."
Not so much.
Now I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Are we done this yet?" Like, it's so hilarious. So you had 10 kids. Oh, if you
No,
want to.
no, carry on.
You had 10 children of your own. No. Okay.
You'll often hear me talk about journeys, and I've been on many of. There was a poem that I refer to. It's about a train, and I think, let me think. Vincent Moore wrote
Okay.
a poem,
Okay.
and it's about the journey of life. And he talks about a train, and you're on the train when you're born, and you're introduced to your parents, and you expect them to be there forever, but they don't. They eventually they get off your train, but other people come and go, and some come for very brief sessions, and some for longer sessions. And so you have to remember what influence you will have on their lives, especially those ones that don't stay too long because they're there for a lesson from you for some reason. But those people also have an influence on your life too. And I took this one very, very much to heart. And so I am always on a journey. And so during this journey, this 36 years, I have adopted several children on the way. So I think I didn't count after number 97, and that's my boy, the adopted boy in Toronto right now. And I gave up after that, but I think about 170 or 175. And so there have been several through the years. So JJ, when his adoption goes through, will be my 10th child.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm the oldest mama in the world.
Oh, and how blessed and lucky they are to have you just the way you are. So what inspired you, drove you, got I'm not quite sure the hook word, but to take on or have the capacity or ability to
The calling.
the calling.
calling.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you for saving me on the calling to give so much of yourself to so many people, children.
It is a calling. Thank you very much. And it's classed as a volunteer job because although we do get paid some money, I think they figure it out at 11 cents an hour per child.
Yeah.
It's really
Oh yeah.
volunteer. It's to pay for their power and
Yeah.
clothing and so on. So what happened was we were living in the Bahamas, and I had my third child in the Bahamas, a little boy, and my husband was an orphan, has nobody at all. And I come from this enormous family, and I used to think he married my family as well. My dad was one of 19 children and knew all my cousins and so on. It was enormous. And so we moved to the Bahamas, and then we worked there for 5 years, or he did. And he was hankering for more. And I had found out what caused it and put a stop to it by this time, So I said, no more for me. However, we decided to adopt. And then we decided we were moving on from there. And he wanted to come to Canada, and I did not. I don't like the cold. I did not want to come. But he made me a promise if I would come for 5 years, that I would stay warm. And he kept his promise for nearly 40 years till he got sick.
Yeah.
But after 5 years, my kids were growing up and they had friends. And what do you do? So when we got here, I actually got sober, and that's another journey I'm still on. 1983, 22nd of August, 1983. And that was a year after we got here. And we were driving along Sherwood Park Freeway, and there was one of the banners along the bridge there, and it said, become a foster parent, help some children. I can't remember, And he said, let's call and do it. And I said, I thought, this is the answer. This is what he wants. He's always wanted lots of children. This will be good. And so that's where we went. And we went for foster children and foster to adopt. And our first adoption came pretty much that year, I think. So it was an intention before we came to Canada, sort of. Our intentions also were to help children live a better life in this world that we had destroyed, actually. Our generation changed everything, and it wasn't always for the better. And both my husband and I are fairly intelligent, and we knew that. So we wanted to help get some children through it, I suppose. I'm not
175 of them.
Now, I don't want you to think all of them were successful.
Well, yeah.
But a lot of them were. A lot of them were. And they did things for us too. They brought joy into our lives, usually. Not always, but usually. And we had that was a beautiful journey. So JJ is my last, but before JJ was Logan.
Yes.
And Logan used to come to the Young Masters Club classes. I don't believe in coincidences. To me, they're miracles.
Yeah.
When Logan was 2.5, he was in Rosecrest Hospital, which is a hospital in Edmonton for children who can't move at all. Okay, he had been born, he had a major stroke before he was born, and his brain there's only a third of a brain there, blind, can't walk, talk, couldn't move at the time. And then he started to move his legs. And so I had been taking him on respite from a government department called FSCD. And then he was supposed to come to me full time, and then it changed somehow. I forget what it was now. Oh, that's right. His parents decided to give him up. And I had a phone call one day from CFS, Children and Family Services, to ask would I take a little 4-year-old boy, and they would tell me all about him. And they started with his name. And I said, but he's sitting in my house right now. And the two departments had not crossed. So I was meant to have him. So I had Logan since he was about 2.5 and absolutely full-time since he was 4. And Logan had the mind of a 10-month-old and the abilities of that too. And so he was just a baby. I had to do everything for him. And I had him until last September, and he's moved on to a group home now because I just couldn't lift him anymore. But I had a second chance to work with Key Creative, completely, absolutely unknown to the Mini Masters, Young Masters Club. Logan was getting aggressive. He was a handful, too much for anybody to handle. I couldn't take him to the shops anymore. I couldn't go to a restaurant for sure. And it was just, life was miserable for both of us. So I asked his social worker if they would find me someone that could work with Logan and see if they could. All I wanted was to be able to take him in the shops, shopping in the village, and So it took a little while, and I can, this was so, see, no coincidences, just miracles. I had a phone call from the manager, and she said, we took this to our contract people, and we told them all about Logan and what his needs were. And they said the only and the best people that need to work with him is somebody called Quee. I said, key creative.
Yeah.
Yes, she said, you know them already. I said, I bring it on. And I don't know what the team, Mike, you were one of them, were expecting. You actually did perform miracles, even though it was tiny steps. I was able to take him into shops, just counting, calming him down, just talking to him, just practicing going into shops with him, so that we were able to do that. And in fact, I think that was that before COVID? I think it
It would
was.
have been, yeah.
We didn't go out much during COVID, but certainly the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, we go into restaurants. No problem. He's fine. Yeah, shopping. So you did perform a miracle, even if you didn't see the end result.
Oh,
You
well,
really did.
It's thank you for sharing that. I think of Logan, and a smile definitely comes to my face, because the memory that comes into my mind is a fairly recent one.
Yes.
It was last year at Young Masters Club. And so Logan comes into Young Masters Club, he's in his chair, and he sits front and center, and he cheers us on. So to me, he was always our cheerleader. And one day I asked your permission,
Yes.
and I said, is it okay if I take him out of his chair? Or did you take him out? Someone
Can't
took him
remember,
out.
but
He
no,
came out.
I think he got out. I didn't realize his belt was off.
Yeah.
Mistake on my part, but he got out.
He
Didn't
got out and he started just cruising around the chair. And it was the most sweetest, incredible, beautiful thing to have him out there with us.
And quite a miracle too, because he can walk, as you see,
Yeah.
but not very often.
Yes, you had said that.
Yes.
Something
That
in
was-
him, though, had sparked that
Yeah.
day that he's like, I'm not just on the sidelines here. I'm getting in there today.
did.
And he did. And he did.
And he was almost blind too, and so he had lots of nerve to get out there and do that. I'll never forget that one either.
Yeah, what a
Yes.
day that was. It's very, very vivid in my mind, for sure.
But very positives. I haven't had one negative experience with Key Creative or
Well,
Quee
thank you.
Creative.
The queen.
Wee.
Key Creative. So it's been good.
Oh,
It's
well.
been good.
Thank you for that and sharing that. And I love your perspective, like the miracles and the alignment of things is so beautiful and wonderful. I can imagine and know the change you've made in so many children's lives. What changes do you think it's maybe created in you?
Oh my goodness.
I know that's a big one.
That is a big question. As a young mum,
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 children in 3 years. Like I said, I found out what was causing it. Said no more. We'll adopt in future.
Yeah.
Busy mum. Busy. Never had time to watch what was going on. Wanted these children to grow up so life could carry on. And I missed out on so much, which is sometimes why I say to you, stop. It's just a moment in their lives, you know?
Those
So-
reminders are so important for moms with, I think, any age kid, but young kids especially, because the go, go, go feeling is real for sure.
Yes, it is. That feeling you've got to do this, go to work, do this, get dinner, and so on. And we miss so much. But I started fostering when I was 31, 30, whatever. And I started with teenagers.
Okay.
And it was an eye-opener to watch them doing the things that I used to do. I was a good kid.
What goes around comes around.
And thank goodness I was able to keep a sense of humor. But to watch those things happen in someone else in my home and see myself in what they were doing was such a huge help to me
Okay.
because I wasn't their parent. I was their substitute parent. So I was able to say, hey, I did that when I was a kid too, but watch for the results of this, that, and the other. So not like a parent wagging their finger. And so that was good. So they brought to me a lot of sense of humor. And that stuck with me for the longest time. We had a lot of troubled teens. And my husband used to say, I think they ought to name a bench after us at the courtroom because we seemed to be there every week with one child or another. But it was a learning experience. Take everything you come across as a learning experience. If you don't do these things, if you don't walk through that door and jump in with 2 feet, you'll never have those experiences. You know, the door swings both ways. If you don't like it, come back again. But you need to have life's experiences in order to feel those things. Then we had a wonderful time, obviously, because 36 years later,
You're still
I'm still here.
and adopting your
10th child.
Your 10th
or the
child.
7th, actually, I suppose.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh. Wow.
I've had him since the day he was born.
Oh.
20 hours old he was when he came to
I
me.
didn't know that.
And he, in fact, is the 10th child of his parents. Yeah.
Really?
So he's moved from 10th to 10th.
Yeah. So we know that a lot of children that come to children's services are coming from usually fairly traumatic households or families or situations that have put them in that position. And we also know that with that, the impact of trauma can bring about some very challenging behaviors and impacts. And so it can be very hard to deal with, right? It
Yes.
gets confusing. There's, behaviors, challenging things going on. How do you keep your cup filled up to be able to give so much to the needs that these different children and people have?
I think when we first started fostering, we had done a course. Mind you, life has changed since back then. It was mostly alcoholism that caused the issues. The parents were maybe alcoholics and forgot to feed the children, or the children were fetal alcohol. And so that was a challenge by itself. So we learned all about that. Of course, hands-on is the way to learn because you have this child who doesn't do what you expect it to do, and you can either get up in arms and decide you are going to teach this child right now that it is he or she is going to do this, or you will find out why. So the best way is to find out why. And so we did a lot of learning. We also had native children, or indigenous children. Sorry, they've been changed names as we've gone along. And they live a different lifestyle too. Even the children, even now the children up to 6 years of age, do not have to be at the dinner table at dinner. They eat when they want to, and they sleep when they want to. It's not until they reach 6 years of age that they start to become part of the rules and regulations of a young child, I suppose. And so we would get a child in who had no idea how to sit at a table because that was never been required of them. So we had to learn the indigenous ways too and try and move them, not change them, never change, but move them into some sort of family group. And then, of course, the drugs came in, and the parents who were so gone on drugs. I have had fetal alcohol children, and I have had drug babies, and I would take a drug baby any time over fetal alcohol. I'm teaching you something you already know, but maybe the people out there will understand. Fetal alcohol, if a mother drinks while she is pregnant, the brain stem is where it's affected, the baby in utero, and those nerves, there's thousands and thousands of them in the brainstem, are completely cut off, and they can never be renewed again. And so you end up with a child whose brain, which should be tight like a cauliflower, is somewhat open depending on how bad it is. And so you have to, and it can be done, teach that child to use different synapses to think about things, but they will always carry traits in them of a fetal alcohol child. Whereas a drug baby, it's neurological. The drug baby will, I'm talking in general terms, please believe me, but they will almost always have ADHD and some other things as well, like oppositional defiance disorder, ODD. My boy has severe ADHD, OCD, lovely clean bedroom. Everything is always put away. Tourette's often comes with drug babies, or ADHD anyway. And he has verbal Tourette's, both. Sorry, not physical, he has verbal. And he gets stuck on things. Or one of the things he's been stuck on for years is, I love you. 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 And believe me, it sounds wonderful until you've heard it 2,000 times and your eyes are crossing and you have to answer each one and validate.
Validate everyone. It filled up the cup and then it deeply into the cup.
And then it's bedtime. Yes.
Whereas every other young kid is just they'll usually peter out at some point because they're just trying to extend their bedtime.
Yes.
Whereas that's a compulsion.
Compulsion, yes.
Yeah.
The other one is, what's the time? So you answer, what's the time now? What's the time now? What's the time? What's the time?
How grateful are you for the new clock at the hall?
Isn't it good?
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah. The reality is that there are challenging behaviors. The needs of these children are diverse. They require a certain type of attention and support and love. And so it can take a lot out of us, right?
Certainly
and
does.
so I'm curious again, how do you fill your cup and keep yourself in a position or a place where you're able to support the needs of these people, of these children?
Understood. Yes, the children that come into foster care all have issues. It may not be their issues. Most of them are traumatized from parents' behavior. However, there are many younger children and teenagers who have traumatized their parents and they don't know what to do with them either. And so the children that we get in will all have issues. So if you're thinking of becoming a foster parent, you are not going to get that lovely little baby that's just been born, not at this stage anyway. You will have a child, not too difficult, but one that has some trauma. We're learning a lot these past few years about toxic trauma, where the home is so toxic that the child just can't function. They don't know why they're there in the end. So yes, there's a lot of trauma comes in. How do I keep my cup full? Well, when my husband was fostering with me, you have to have a rather dark sense of humor. After that child has smeared poop all around the bedroom, or you've just pulled two teenagers in off the roof, high on drugs, or chased a young girl down the railroad tracks in your bedroom slippers at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can tell you a million stories.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a supportive partner. We went into this together. We worked together. Even though he worked out and I worked too, we certainly supported each other on everything. And I think by the time my husband passed away, the last 9 years, maybe I just got good at it, you know? Maybe I just got it. And so I like to craft. I do teach dancing. I teach clogging. It's similar to tap dancing and Irish dancing, which uses some energy. I love to come to do taekwondo
Mm-hmm.
because I can be who I want to be. And so I fill my cup up these ways. But we fill our cup up too from those things that those children do, those baby steps, tiny, tiny baby steps. They're so tiny, and yet, here's an example. I could give you a million again, but here's an example. Late one afternoon, this was, I think JJ was probably 4 years old, and I had sat in my chair at home, and I was a little bit tired. It's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't go to sleep with a child who has issues. However, my eyes were closed. I was checking them for leaks, the eyelids for leaks, and I pretended to be asleep, and he got a blanket and put it over me. Oh, my heart felt so good. And so we fill our cup up with those tiny little actions. Paul, I'm sure you've had them from your children. They've given you a sip of their drink or come and held your hand. And so this is where your cup fills up. It's not the big things. I get awards for this and I've had every award that you could possibly get in foster care. And none of them mean anything like that little boy pulling a blanket over me.
Oh,
You know?
thank you for sharing that
So-
story. I know at Key Creative, we talk a lot about, and our focus is a lot on celebrating all the wins, the
sizes.
small, the big, especially the small, those little magic moments that happen that we may, put to the side, that we make sure that they're brought into the spotlight, and
That's
that
good.
that we pay attention to them.
And tell your parents, don't forget, don't miss them.
Don't miss them. Find them.
Find
If
them.
anything, find them.
Look for them.
Look for them.
Watch, what do they say? Watch your children being good, not bad.
Yeah.
Watch your children being
It's always easy to find what's going wrong, right? It's finding what's going right that's going to move us in that healthy, more
That's right.
positive direction.
That's why I say to you sometimes, stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of their memories. They're all right. It's only in this moment.
Yeah, that was great when I needed that in that moment. Yes, I appreciate that. Wow. So I'm curious, so kind of going in a different direction, but you've been sober now for over 40 years.
I think this August, I will be sober in Alcoholics Anonymous for 41 years. I was living in the Bahamas, and I was 22 years old when we moved there. And prior to that, I had a glass of sherry with my mum, I think, but I wasn't a drinker. I didn't drink. And then I was playing bridge. It's 4 of us, and I had asked for ginger ale. Oh, I should tell you, on the beach, sand, palm trees, etc. And I had asked for ginger ale, which is what I always had. And this person here, can't even remember who it was, and it really doesn't add to the story, but she had a Ryan ginger. And I got hers. And so I'm playing bridge and drinking this. And I had the most marvelous, magical feeling. I felt so good, and I felt like I was pretty and cute and brainy, smart, had it all together. It was like magic for me. And it's what's called an alcoholic waiting to happen. There it was. Well, I never missed a day's drinking from that day for the next 6 years, which brought me to 1 year into Canada. We came in 82, so it was August 82, August 83. I've never drunk in a bar. I've never drank at home. Nobody really... Alcoholics love to say, nobody knew I was a drinker, and I was just about to say it, but I'm sure they did. But I tried everything, and I called AA, and I haven't had a drink since that time. Now, I did not know what AA was. I didn't know if they were a cult, some government thing. All I heard was that AA helps you to stop drinking, but I got to the point, I suppose, where if they'd told me to stand on my head naked singing Rule Britannia, that's where I was. I was done by that time.
Okay.
And it wasn't easy. Wasn't. But I learned to be a better person, how to cope without. This has been the best journey of my life. And that has supported me through everything else I have done since. I still work the 12 steps every day. I said the Serenity Prayer before I came out. There we go.
Why has that been so important to you to stay sober?
Um, because I needed to be the best person I could be. And if you've never done a 12-step program, it teaches you how to do that, how to empathize with yourself to start with,
Mm-hmm.
and then empathize with other people. I wasn't that nice a person before I became the person I am now. So no regrets for me. I really quite like who I am most days now. So yes, but that is the program that has supported me through all these years. My son died at 25, and if I tell you I didn't need to take a drink, that would be wrong. I did, but I didn't take one. My husband passed away. I've lost friends. But that program has just been the best thing in my life ever. And God, of course.
Leaving the listeners, people, with any advice, and maybe specifically for parents or possibly foster parents, adoptive parents, what would your advice be to them?
Okay, I do teach new foster parents on occasion. And this is what I tell them when they're embarking on this fostering career. You can have cornflakes for supper some nights. It's okay. Better to be busy, or having been busy doesn't mean you have to come home and cook a dinner. You can have cornflakes for supper sometimes, which is always a big relief to them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, these children that you're going to take into your home have their own trauma. And this applies to biological parents too. The child will become angry at something. Now, maybe foster children act out a little bit more than biological children, but their actions are their actions. It's not aimed at you. It's aimed at the person that's standing in front of them. Their anger is their anger. Their trauma is their trauma. Even a biological child has trauma if his toy is broken. And so just remember, if he or she had been standing in front of the teacher, the caregiver, same action would have taken place, maybe in a different way, but you don't take all that onto yourself. You teach your child how to manage it, and hopefully in time that will happen. But don't take it too personally. Okay, it's not personal.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can just remember that, it's not personal. And I forget what everything else was you asked me. Was that it?
That was it, the advice you'd give. And I think that is so important, is not taking it personally and not starting to make it about like, what have I done wrong? I'm a failure. I'm terrible. I'm making all of these mistakes and I can never come back from it. I often hear, and I often do it to myself
We all do
a
it.
lot of times. And really, I was talking with my therapist yesterday as I was processing my guilt of being a terrible mother. And she reminds me, like, how is that serving your child? It's not. And I think to your point, Mike, that you had made in another episode and you guys were discussing earlier, it's not all about me.
No.
And actually, it's probably not at all
about you. No.
about me. If anything, I can support her learning because I have experienced parts of what she has, right? Or I'm speaking of my daughter, for example. But me being, is martyr the appropriate word? A martyr,
Victim.
a victim in that situation is only making things
Doesn't do a thing.
Doesn't do a thing.
When I felt like a victim, I used to smoke in these days years and years ago. I would take a cup of coffee. I'd make sure the kids were fine.
Yeah.
Take a cup of coffee and a cigarette into the bathroom and lock the door.
Yeah.
And have my 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Off we go again. Move forward, not backward.
Find our 10 minutes.
Reset.
Find our 10-minute
minutes,
reset.
yeah.
Even if you only have 5 minutes.
That's it.
Even if you only have 2 minutes, like it's enough time to go in and just like have a cigarette or take a breath.
I can totally relate.
Breath.
Yesterday I had one of those moments where it was like, it was later in the day. I'd been taking my mom to an appointment, and I was like, well, you know what? My sleep's been a bit off. I can't have a coffee. I just want a decaf so I can trick my brain.
Yes.
I go to the Tim Hortons, and they're like, no, we don't have any right now. And I'm like, well, can you make it? And they're like, no, it'll take too long. And I'm just like, I just want that, because I knew what it would do for me was be able to be that reset, so I could just kind of continue on, be able to do the other things that I needed to do, get back to my own brain for work that I had to do after I'd done all those things. And it's so important to be able to take those small little kind of joys, because the rest of the world's go, right?
And I just want to thank you for sharing that, Mike, and refining our reset. That it's very normal for us as parents to blame ourselves. So I just want to acknowledge that that's a normal thing to happen, and it's okay to go through that, and then to create space to reset, give ourselves grace, and then be able to show up and do what we need to do, because they are their own people and they will make their own decisions and choices. We are teachers and guides who are both learning and teaching, with them.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
Reset, go in a different direction if you want. Diversion.
Diversion.
Even with little babies, divert.
Find your coping strategies that work for you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It will all be good. And if you bring your child up with good ethics and morals and love, your child will be okay.
Yeah.
They will survive. Children have survived a lot worse than a tongue lashing.
Perspective, right? Sometimes we need that perspective, and I appreciate you saying that. So you've talked about humor a lot. I'm going to put you on the spot as we wrap up. Do you have a favorite joke?
A favorite joke? Oh, not one that I can tell here, my love.
We're going to cross that rated R line that we said we weren't going to go there.
I'm British. We like the off ones a lot. So and I have just arrived home from England, so that's all I can think of right now. But laugh at yourself.
Laugh at yourself. That's a good one.
That's a good joke.
Yeah.
Laugh at yourself because, and you know what? This isn't a dress rehearsal. We only get one chance at this. Live it.
Might as well dance.
Might as well dance in the rain.
Might as well dance in the
rain.
Oh, Linda, thank you.
I've really enjoyed this.
We've really enjoyed you. What
I've
a pleasure.
enjoyed how I feel like there's just that endless capacity to celebrate, where you said Young Master Club has been such a big impact, and it's where you can be yourself, and like just how much more trajectory there's to go. But then also fostering has been such a big thing, and there's always room for there to go, and there's just no limit to that, right?
And finding those miracles, finding and seeing those miracles.
They are miracles. No coincidences. They're all miracles. I've been on so many journeys. I am just about to embark on another one starting today. I've been on the diet yo-yo for all my life, right? Today, through the scales way, no more diets, intuitive eating. Find out if you're full before you want it. So another journey coming on.
Another chapter being written as we speak. I love it.
Watch this space. It might get thinner. but live life. You don't get another chance at this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I've enjoyed every minute. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, we got to close it out, just like Young Master Club now with the whoosh.
Oh,
whoosh
yeah. I won't be there tonight or the kids.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Whoosh.
Key Talks is a project of Key Creative. Our co-hosts are Paula Audrey Rivero and Deanna Halls. Our production team is Michael Schwake, Jessa Dupuis, and Deanna Halls. Music by John Rivero.
To reach out to us or access services for you or your family, visit keycreative.com. That's QICreative.com and fill out our online intake form. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.